2018 is upon us. I hope you're going well. This is my first video blog for this year. I'm already excited because I completed a challenge recently of doing 1 million steps on my Fitbit watch. So 1 million steps in 3 months. So that's pretty exciting for me. Now that's done. Here we go again, Another 1 million steps, hopefully another 3 months. Today's thought is called Lost in Space. It's a lesson I've learned over the last few years about how we have this interesting habit of creating stories, myths and gap fillers when we're uncertain about what's going on around us, when we are uncomfortable about what we're going through, or certainly uncertain about what people are saying. Ever had that argument with your loved one, your partner, your husband or your wife, or your closest friend, and then you get the terrible silence treatment? Maybe you've upset your friend or partner and they just won't speak anymore to you, they just give you the look. Worse still, you don't even know how or why you upset them. So what do? We start looking for the reason. We start filling the silence with noise from our imagination. Every possible event looks like it might be the potential mistake that I'm responsible or you're responsible for. Every imagined conclusion, a catastrophe in the making. And that is what it means to be lost in space. In the space of uncertainty and trying to find your way home. Inside of many of us is this terrible desire to make sense of the silence and the space that conflict or lying or bad moods or toxic people make in our lives. The more toxic the situation, the more we tend towards filling the silence with noise and the uncertainties with myths. It is hard to live with those uncomfortable silences. Nobody likes it. And those empty feelings of uncertainty, they're certainly disempowering. And when they happen, we can find ourselves creating these stories and gap fillers to help us cope and give us a sense of control in the uncertainty. Maybe to take the sting away from the sense of fear. The playground of uncertainty is silence that undermines how we make sense of our feeling of lost control. I had a friend recently talk to me about this very thing when he said that the silence that we have often can create a storm in a teacup. Silence creates a storm in a teacup. I remembered when he said that smiling because my mum used to say that. Now, on reflection, I wonder sometimes if we're more like those folk who create a catastrophe in a teaspoon when we lose sight of our reality. What do you do when you feel trapped in a terrible, uncertain situation that leaves you so feeling uncertain, and where you lose that sense of control, when you are so unsure of what really happened and what is perceived to have happened, in that space of fear and of people behaving badly? This is all new thinking to me, but I've got several points that I'm contemplating for myself. We need to have well-grounded people around us who can be very honest and allow us to be kept well-grounded. They are the people who tell us the truth, but at the same time, they have our backs. Maybe that's quite a rare feature. Number two, I've really come to realize you've got to choose who you listen to. A non-wise friend will listen to you, but they sometimes augment or enlarge the story or the gap filler that you've created, merely to make the situation more toxic and more confusing. They want the best for you, they love you, they care for you, but they don't have perspective. In one video I recently listened to, I heard of a phrase called the emotional feeding harem. And I did chuckle because I got the concept. Sometimes we accumulate around us so loyal, so loving to people that all they do is they emotionally feed our catastrophes and our thinking. They are the rescuers, but the truth is they can create more complexities. 3, make sure you write down what you know to have happened. Be very clear and very real in your story, so that you can write it down so that new myths and new stories are not created in your head as people talk into your life. If you've had something that's happened to you and it's just happened and you're really quite confused, write it down. But only write what you know, don't write what you don't know, lest you start filling the gap again, or filling the space, that silence, with myths, stories, and fears. If you've made a mistake, if you've really made a mistake, be quick to apologise. After all, we can really resolve a lot of our issues when we own our part to it. 5. As a good friend once said to me, and recently have said to me, and in fact, truth is, I've heard it many times, don't be driven by emotions. They often only cloud your thinking, making you crazy, and the story you're caught in darker. Emotional-based reasoning is the playground of catastrophizing. It is the playground of creating negative stories, negative myths that impact our lives. Emotions have their place, but they rarely help us in trauma. All of us at times face situations that are hard, fearful, terrifying, or just confusing. This is the nature of living, or at least that's what I keep on getting told, and I've found it to be true. And at times we simply do not know what others are thinking, what they're planning, or how they're feeling as they process their own issues. It's at these moments of uncertainty and confusion that self-talk creates the myths that we fill the space with to make us feel more in control, or to reinforce at times that we're completely out of control. So, why create a catastrophe out of nothing? Or why create a storm before it's actually arrived? It's difficult to hold oneself well in the middle of chaos, but it's best not to be lost in space. Have a good day.